A wreck that can't be solved, a woman who writes her own speeding tickets, a Tesla hater, a car up on two wheels, and some cool chicks just hanging out. Plus, we've hit 900,000 subscribers and we've got a little surprise waiting at the end. Roll the videos.
Wham! Bam! Teslacam! I hope you're satisfied!
The collision we're about to see caused $26,000 in damage to a Tesla and baffled the police. 2 months later, they still can't decide who's at fault. Let's see if you can figure it out. Rain was driving his Model Y in Santa Monica. He was planning on making a left turn at an intersection and had stopped at the red light. When the light turned green, Rain began turning, but that's when a black Mercedes AMG came out of nowhere and T-boned him on the right side, spinning the Tesla 180 degrees. We need to back up. When Rain first approached the intersection, we can see a sign that reads, "Left turn, yield on green." Since Rain was making a left turn, that meant he should have yielded to oncoming traffic. But when the light turned green, the Prius in the oncoming lane wasn't moving, so Rain started to turn. That's when the Mercedes driver who approached from behind the Prius decided to overtake it in the bike lane. Rain couldn't have anticipated this, and since he was already turning, he had no way to avoid the impact. Here's where the investigation has hit a roadblock. Rain was supposed to yield for oncoming traffic, but does that rule apply to a driver breaking the law by driving in a bike lane? What do you think? If you were writing the collision report, who would you consider to be responsible? Rain told us he's still fighting with Tesla Insurance and waiting for a final decision, but he said they're waiting for the other driver's insurance provider and they are waiting for the police report. Dennis was driving his Model 3 in San Diego when traffic in front of him suddenly stopped. Watch what happened moments after he felt his seatbelt tighten. The driver of the truck behind him hadn't noticed that traffic had stopped and it plowed straight into Dennis's Tesla. Thankfully, nobody was hurt, and Dennis credits the Tesla's safety features for protecting him in the collision. The police were quick to respond to the scene, and the officer's first words when he noticed the Tesla were, "Let me see the footage." Sadly, Dennis's Tesla actually shut down after the collision, so he wasn't able to show the officer his Teslacam footage. Only later did he think about unplugging the drive and showing him the video on a computer. Thankfully, Dennis was able to email the officer his footage later. He told us the other driver was found responsible. This emitter was using the full self-driving beta on I-280 when traffic began backing up in the two exit lanes on the right. Some drivers chose to skip the exit and merge back into the travel and passing lanes. But the driver of a Toyota didn't check their side view mirror and nearly hit another vehicle before driving up onto another one. The Toyota was literally driving with two wheels up on the side of another car. The submitter's friend took this photo as they drove by. They didn't stop on the highway due to safety concerns. When they closely reviewed the photo later, they noticed the vehicle belonged to a car-sharing company. They sent a message to the company on social media in case they wanted a copy of the Teslacam video for their investigation. This submitter had taken his boys to a park when he noticed some women hanging around his car. He pulled up the live view in his Tesla app to find they were getting awfully close to his Tesla. He started remotely honking at them until they walked away. There's a pro tip in case this ever happens to you. Tam was sitting at a red light in Fremont, California when he noticed a bunch of police lights flashing at a gas station up ahead. Suddenly, he heard another police car flying up behind him, and it turned out to be a Tesla. Now that's cool. We're gonna assume the Tesla wasn't arriving late to the party, it was there because the other cops needed to call in the big guns. Still, I'm sure we'll see people joking about the Tesla running out of power in the comments. By the time Tam passed the gas station, the action was over and a suspect was in handcuffs just as the Tesla arrived. Brevin was heading to work in Dallas when traffic came to a sudden stop. Before he could react, the Tesla sounded a warning and swerved. When he realized what had happened, he checked the Tesla's center screen, and it read, "Potential collision detected, corrective steering applied." Brevin told us his Tesla saved him from rear-ending the car ahead of him, and from being rear-ended by the Nissan that was a hair away from kissing his rear bumper cover. David returned to his Model Y 30 minutes after parking it, only to find a big scratch on the side of it and this Sentry Mode footage. An unknown woman walked past the car, glancing at it and nearly tripping and falling over. She came back a few seconds later, and this time she walked right up to the Tesla. It also looks like she might be signaling just 1 minute to someone. Evidently, her plans for that 1 minute were to deeply scratch the side of David's Tesla with a key. David made a police report and included this footage, but the cops told him they're unlikely to identify the vandal. David hopes sharing this video with us might help identify this criminal. If you recognize her, please contact us and we'll forward the information to David and the police. Hopefully she can be stopped from doing something like this to someone else, and maybe we can find out why she did this in the first place. Max's Model Y was parked near his house in the West End of London when he got a Sentry Mode notification on his phone and discovered something was wrong. He ran outside and discovered that a vintage Mercedes 500 SL had slammed into the side of his Tesla. The driver stopped and they exchanged insurance details in what Max said was a very civilized exchange. Even though the impact seems minor, his Tesla needed a new rear bumper cover, wheel, tire, suspension parts, and more. It was off the road for 2 months, and fixing the damage cost over $21,000 US. Thankfully, Max's Tesla looks brand new after the repairs. This emitter was waiting to turn left at a red light when the driver behind him changed her mind and decided to turn right instead. Sadly, she didn't check for traffic and crashed right into a passing car. Our emitter heard the loud sound behind him and thought he'd been hit, but when he pulled over, he found his car wasn't damaged before giving copies of his Teslacam video to the drivers involved. Michael was driving to work and was behind a long line of cars waiting to turn left. The rightmost lane is a dedicated right turn lane that usually has nobody in it, and drivers like to use it to go around other traffic at 30 to 40 miles per hour. One driver backed up traffic behind them to let an oncoming Jeep turn left into a parking lot, but the Jeep driver didn't notice a BMW using the right turn lane to cut around traffic. The BMW hit the rear of the Jeep, spinning it 180 degrees and slamming it into a pole. Michael stopped to verify that everyone was okay. When police arrived, the Jeep driver actually accepted responsibility, so nobody was initially interested in Michael's Teslacam footage. Eventually, the BMW driver did accept a copy, which he would later thank Michael for. The Jeep driver changed her story later on, but the Teslacam footage straightened out the situation. Sheldon was driving home after picking up dinner when a wild CX-9 appeared right in front of him. Sheldon had no time to stop before hitting the side of the stray Mazda. Thankfully, everyone was okay, and he was able to drive his Tesla home after the police came and made their report. Repairs took almost 2 months to complete and reached almost $12,000 US, plus another $12,000 in rental car fees. Sheldon was not at fault for the collision, and in Australia, drivers not at fault are provided with a rental car at the expense of the other driver's insurance provider. This emitter watched an erratic Mercedes driver slam into a curb at a busy intersection, nearly hitting a pedestrian. Later, the driver was behind this emitter before they started honking repeatedly. The driver then tried to pass him on the unpaved shoulder, forcing him into the oncoming lane to avoid being sideswiped. Once she had passed our emitter, she stopped and pretended to write our emitter a ticket before getting back in her car and driving off. Okay then. It was Tony's first day home after a trip to Boston, and he was headed to pick up his dog Oreo from doggy daycare when his wife asked him to stop for a smoothie. Okay, is Tony making fun of us by providing all these details? Specifically, his wife wanted a blueberry smoothie. Okay, we made that one up. 2 cars came flying up behind him and tried to pass him on the right, but the driver of the silver car didn't realize there was another car in his blind spot as he crossed 2 lanes. He overcorrected and lost control before hitting the concrete barrier, and then another car ended up hitting him. The drivers involved both pulled over. Tony would have stopped, but his wife was pregnant, so he chose not to put them in danger by stopping on the side of the highway. Frank was sitting at an intersection where traffic had just started moving after the light turned green. Suddenly, a sedan tried to cut past traffic in the right turn lane before smashing into a curb and flattening 2 tires. Frank told us the sound of the tires exploding was extremely loud and caught everyone's attention. Tinty was driving in Australia when all of a sudden he apparently passed a Rammstein concert. Actually, those fireballs were being sent into the air from a casino. Tenty asked us to shout out their Discord server, Tesla Addicts Australia. We were gonna join and ask them if they ever found out why the casino was casting fireball spells, but when we searched for the server, we couldn't find it. Still, shooting fireballs into the air seems very strange. Speaking of strange things, we've hit 900,000 subscribers. Imagine that! We want to thank our fans who've been with us since the beginning, so as a show of our appreciation, here's a bonus video just for our subscribers. If you're not subscribed, you should look away. Watch what happened when Tom approached an intersection in his Model 3. Wow! Not only did Tom run a red light, he sent us the video evidence so we could show it to all of you. He told us he had a brain fart when he was watching too far ahead and didn't notice the red light until it was too late. He told us he has a clean driving record, but he knows there's no excuse for what he did. Still, he wanted to show this as a lesson for others. If you're not being completely attentive to your driving, mistakes will happen. Interestingly, he also noted that his Tesla didn't give him any warnings about the red light. Well, thanks for joining us for the deep end of the video, the Subscribers Corner, where we confess, learn, and share. Tell your friends to subscribe so they can join us for the next one.